Words he uses here. The seasoning of a play is the applause. The food images. You know, what have we been doing? While we've been appreciating this play, we've been at a kind of verbal banquet. The point is that what happens here is that Volpone suddenly comes out to the audience and says to them, well, look, folks, you've been watching a play. I know you've been watching a play. It hasn't been really me at all. And suddenly what happens is that Volpone asserts the kind of comic distance.
And, you know, it's not just supposed to sort of stimulate you and
Yeah.
just make
When I first came, I liked it for all the wrong reasons. It's a tremendous ego boost if you're a girl and you know, you're not that shy and haven't got a squint and a false leg and things. Because all the boys, for a lot of them, you're the first girl they've ever come across. So they zoom in on you and they talk to you and they invite you up to their studies. And you just get so much attention, which you don't get at a girls' school. You know, it's lovely, really. But, I mean, obviously that fades out after a bit. But to begin with, I mean, I'd never had anything like it before. It was stunning, it really was. And now, you know, I've sort of settled down a bit more and I like it as a school rather than as a sort of extended cocktail party.
One of the things that gives Westminster its particular character is this extraordinary sort of arena-like courtyard around which most of the buildings are grouped. People are on top of each other all the time, which is one of the reasons why I think the weekend is very important. It's very important that people are able to get out of this very cramped atmosphere. But I think an even thing that I think is also very important is the way in which people walking across that courtyard are so often extremely aware that they are being looked at by people in buildings all around the courtyard. What it results in sometimes is that people have to develop a kind of pose, a way of coping with public attention, which may sometimes, I think, conceal the person that they really are. In some people, the sophistication is skin deep. It's something that they have to develop to protect themselves while they're growing up, while they're developing their own personalities.
Yeah. Okay, if you just come along and sort of be helpful and sort of bright ideas, that's all we need. Yeah.
I noticed you haven't asked me to.
Well, Daisy, I can't see how we can fit you in. I mean, apart from sort of a slow strip, perhaps, of the camera, I don't really see how it would work. Anyway, okay, cheers. That is
The yard is a fascinating social setup, it really is. During break time, various groups and cliques form up. There are crowds of people pressed against all windows, watching what's going on. The hours I've spent, you know, waiting for some particular female to come out of the door so I can nip down and casually bump into her and say, oh, hi, fancy meeting you, how about, you know, Friday night or something. That's, you know, I mean, I'm sure everyone does that. You hang around waiting for someone you want to meet. The most successful girls, certainly, the ones who come here, who have been to a mixed school before, they've worked out the business of their social lives. If you're actually forming your ideas about that, I think it's not the best place to come. And of course, when you get out of the school and you go into 50-50 instead of a 90-10 ratio, it's probably a bit of a shock. Perhaps if you're a less attractive girl who's been receiving Brigitte Bardot sort of attention, it's going to come as quite a shock.
Do you think the boys get a bit disturbed sexually, emotionally by the presence of the girls?
Sexually disturbed? What, you mean they get hot under the collar in their Latin lessons by this large breasted blonde sitting in front of them? No, I don't think. Well, I don't know. I mean, speaking for myself, yes, I suppose they do. But I mean, this is what adolescence is all about, isn't it?
You don't think it interrupts with the work?
No, I mean, this is the question everyone always raises. But, you know, I think that's a Victorian ideal. I think it's out of date. I think the more we're in a mixed society, the better. I mean, the more mixed families, that's what I think. I mean, if you can have a family which has got lots of kids and of both sexes, then you're away. Speaking for myself, I have no sisters. I mean, you know, it took me a while to get girls worked out. I'm still working at it now, I must say. You know, all a bit frightening and bewildering to a guy like me.
You went out with a girl in the school for 9 months. How difficult was that?
Who told you that? Yes, I went out with a girl for 9 months. How difficult was it? Well, not very difficult at all. I just got on with it. But I was silly because I shut off I sort of cut off all my friends and I didn't do anything with anyone else. And I was really good. I was sort of married for 9 months. But I don't want to get married for a while again yet.
Do you think the staff have a realistic idea about how many boys and girls are going out with each other?
I never know. I've no idea. I mean, they never betray, and they must know, because, I mean, I'm always sort of wandering around with certain boys, you know, and always bumping into the headmaster or something. I think certain masters are more aware of it than others. I mean, I know my housemaster is thoroughly aware of what's going on. I mean, he doesn't mean to pry, but he's got a healthy interest in my private life. I don't know about the headmaster. I hope he doesn't know. I mean, I suppose he must. I mean, he's had daughters here. They've been out with boys at the school, so he must know what's going on. But they never allude to it, and they're much too embarrassed.
Some schools that have admitted girls have a rule specifically forbidding sexual relationships between the boys and girls. Why doesn't Westminster?
Good heavens, do they really? Well, I think because we don't expect it to take place, or perhaps it's because we're not a boarding school as far as the girls are concerned. And anyway, I don't think you can have a rule forbidding sexual relations. I mean, you can have rules saying that stealing is wrong because everybody recognizes that that is an antisocial activity. Much as we may disapprove, and I would disapprove, both as I suppose a headmaster and a father, if I knew it had taken place, I don't think it's one of those things you put in rules. When I first became a headmaster, there was a rule book, not here, but at another school, with 150 rules, of which the last was taps must be turned off after use. I would think that was that sort of rule, and rather a silly one.
Now, can you position yourself? You're obviously slightly taller. I'll move the camera if necessary. That's the way.
First question tonight.
Is the television one clear, Mr. Bostridge?
Yeah.
It's a bit astonishing. Well, that is true. It's an image of reality. And what about the one in the mirror?
Yes. Yeah, I can see them both.
You can see them both. Now, you can look roughly towards the junction. Can you see yourself?
Yes.
Two lateral inversions, two mirrors involved. The light from him hits this mirror, then that one, then back. So there are two reflections involved.
Les autres chauffeurs de taxi, qu'en pensent-ils?
Les autres chauffeurs de taxi, qu'en pensent-ils?
Que je n'aime pas du tout la nouvelle taxe de circulation.
Que je n'aime pas du tout la nouvelle taxe de circulation.
Bon, alors, nous allons continuer.
Ça veut dire presque pas de pourboire.
Ça veut dire presque pas de pourboire.
Harry, c'est toi.
What's the attitude of the other boys to the scholars as a group?
Well, it depends on the time. There's a beginning time of resentment, and then once you've made your mark on the school, then you're generally accepted. For instance, when your personality has dented the school, so to speak, also hundreds of dents by now, then you get accepted into the group.
Vous avez déjà votre devoir de ce soir. Vous allez terminer le résumé du premier acte de Topaz, n'est-ce pas? Bon, alors.
The fees may not buy smaller classes or more stylish equipment than in a good comprehensive. But Westminster can afford to hand-pick the children whom it thinks will most benefit from the school's resources. With such carefully weeded raw material, academic standards are high. The school argues that with the disappearance of the grammar schools, only the independent sector can now defend the principle of academic selection, followed by intense and competitive scholarship, for those who can afford it.
Ah, what case is it? Yes, Boston?
Nominative plural.
Nominative plural, we said that ended in us from the fourth declension with a long U, yes? Quercus. Perhaps you meant that, did you? Frustra, or ne quicam good, with their lumine torvus. What torvus mean? Not, well, yes, that's better. Fierce or grim. Torvus is a very grim word in that sense. With grim eye. Right, good. And the whole land of Italy was exterrita. Struck with terror. And what does penitus mean? That's right, good. Penitus is an adverb meaning deeply, to its depth. You get lots of adverbs ending in itus like that. Someone tell me something about the difference between Latin word order and English word order.
The verb goes at the end.
You only finish it off at the very end.
All right, good. I've heard the verb goes at the end, but someone tell me a bit more about, just in principle, why is Latin word order so different from English? Potter.
Because you only finish it off, the sentence, at the very, very end.
All right, you try and keep the thing that binds a sentence together towards the end. That's quite right.
Are you conscious that the school expects you to get good exam results?
Not really, no. If you don't want to do well, I mean, unless you get really appalling results, 0% in everything, then, I mean, the school doesn't really breathe down your neck, and if it does, it's for your own good anyway.
I was sort of quite surprised when I came here. I'd managed somehow to get a scholarship second time round, and I thought, great, fantastic, I can sit back now, I've got in. No, in no way at all. They have sort of, in the lower school, they have an order card system where boys are sort of monitored every 6 weeks to see how their progress is going. They're always sort of keeping you up against the other people in your set, resetting you. You've got to keep up. I've dropped back recently. I mean, I didn't find the competitive atmosphere terribly attractive.
Well, I found it so difficult to concentrate, actually. That was the thing. I mean, in the exam, I couldn't just sort of knuckle down and get on with it, you know.
Because you don't have enough information at your fingertips to feel confident.
Yeah. And also what I found really disturbing is I thought I'd done quite well on some questions, which I in fact did very badly in the exam. You know, I sort of convinced myself that just because the answer was a coherent sentence, just because it made sense, that it was a viable explanation, when in fact it wasn't.
That's the tyranny of the articulate.
Yeah, I find that terrifying, because, yeah, I mean, to think that I can actually convince myself that you know.
Veridicity.
Gloria Patri et Filio, et Spiritui Sancto.
Sic erat in principio, et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Hey, Andrew, what do you want?
What about those plates there? Who are those for?
The school's 8 houses eat lunch separately, with Dr. Ray joining the scholars in College Hall, a 14th century refectory belonging to the Abbey.
There is going to be the question of noise, and they'll have to be warned. Should I start including that in the same letter, asking for permission to use little cloister?
I wouldn't mention the question of noise at all. Let them work that out for themselves.
Daisy's house, Ashburnham, lunch in a room off the yard.
God only knows. Deep frozen for the past 1,000 years. Well, Arctic roll, that's exactly it.
You don't know, scratch me. You know, you went like that. Can you test me on that? In what context?
Ashburnham is currently the centre of school interest. Daisy's producing the house play, Arsenic and Old Lace, currently enjoying a successful run and building up nicely to its final performance.
The play, the last night tonight, likely to be a large audience. Can I just spell out, please, that the party afterwards will be for members of the cast and those who have helped only. Abby, absentee list this morning. Could you see me now, please? Diamantaras, Chiara, Beach, Wilson, Glover. And could I please see Blackburn about yesterday's station? Thank you.
I did my best.
Considering, man, I'm around the whole time. What does your best consist of?
Well, I came in break to get one, and I also got a letter note from Mr. Jacobs.
Well, that's a bit irrelevant, considering Mr. Jacobs has got nothing to do with the thing.
I know, but the thing is, I had to go
If I
home.
was in the comment, you know where to find me. I would have given you an LO, no problem. The thing is, it just makes it administratively difficult. Mr. Harris has got to send me a note, I got to see him, etc. Go and see Mr. Harris. He's prepared to accept my word that I've given you an LO, okay? Let you off the hook. Right.
Okay.
Go.
You wanted me to come see about mine?
Yeah, it's just that one thing is that will you think carefully about what you're going to say in your sort of curtain call?
Do you want to make a sort of a joke or something? Or should I just...
Jokes are all right as long as they don't fall flat on their face. I think the main thing is talk as audibly as you want your cast to talk. Okay? Well, I mean, I leave it to you. I don't particularly want to know.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
fine.
Sir, could I have a chip for a exercise book?
Right.
Is Westminster stricter than your girls' school?
Well,
There are a lot more rules. I mean, you know, in Westminster they check up on you a lot more than they ever did at Queen's, because at Queen's, you know, you could go out and you could do pretty well what you wanted. Also because it was a day school. But here, you know, it's a boys' school. You're not allowed to go out during the day. You have to, and the boys have to wear uniform. You're not allowed to go to pubs or whatever. I mean, they're much more authoritarian. I mean, the school does feel they're responsible for you, or, you know, they have to keep up their image, whatever. And so, I mean, I do find it slightly restrictive, but you get used to the rules and, you know, you break them because rules are made to be broken, really.
Which ones do you break?
Well, I break the ones that I think are unnecessary, because I think if my parents don't mind me going to a pub or they don't mind me smoking, I don't smoke, but they wouldn't mind if I did, I think I'm going to do that anyway. I don't see why the school should tell me. I think it's really up to my parents, because they're ultimately responsible for me. I also feel that the school is more concerned with its own image than with looking after its pupils in a lot of cases. And so obviously it's bad for them if they find if other people see Westminsters in pubs and things, smoking and drinking and generally not doing any work.
How far do pupils at Westminster use drugs?
Well, I don't really know, because I'm not part of the drugs. I mean, I've never taken drugs, and I don't particularly want to. I think, you know, there are some people who do, but I think they would anywhere, wherever they were. You know, it's part of growing up. I think now in London, you know, you're confronted with drugs. Either you buy them or you don't. And I think, you know, you go to a party and people pass you a joint, and you think, oh right, well, I'll try this one. And it, you know, it's for a lot of people, it's the in thing to do. So, you know, they do. But you know, obviously there is some of it about, but I don't think any more than at any other school. I don't think it's a druggy school at all.
Over the years, not only at Westminster but at other schools that I've been at, I've learnt that you really can't take a vague, ambivalent or soft line on illegal drugs. And so I take now here a hard line, and any boy or girl involved is likely to be expelled. At the same time, another thing we've learnt is that you can't just do that. You've got to be positive, you've got to try to educate boys and girls, not only about illegal drugs, because that's a very small part of a whole Western problem about being a drug-taking society.
There was quite a lot of it about a year or two ago, and the headmaster very sensibly clamped down after there'd been a bit of a rumpus at a party in North London.
What was the rumpus?
Well, a party had caused a lot of disturbance, and someone had rung the police, and they'd come and found that there was a fair amount of dope. I don't think anything more serious around, and there'd been some Westminsters involved. And he clamped down then and said, look, anyone involved from now on in anything, soft or, I mean, hard or whatever you like to call it, out straight away. And since then, it's been very quiet, and I mean, I don't think there's much around at the moment. I mean, certainly a few years ago, there was a lot of serious stuff, and people sort of taking acid and all sorts of things. There's been a bit of dope smoking since. I mean, I can remember going to someone's study a couple of years ago and seeing them roll a joint in front of me, but I mean, that's a while ago. Not now. I think the place is pretty straight.
Quite a lot of boys drink, though, don't they?
Yes, and you know, I mean, everyone drinks. You know, I don't think there's anything important about that. I mean, they have plans to institute a bar